Look into a mirror. What you see is the result of the most incredible journey in the history of life on Earth. A journey that began 4 billion years ago and led to you. This is the epic story of human evolution, a tale of survival, innovation, and transformation that will change how you see yourself forever. Buckle up, because we're about to travel through 7 million years of evolution in just 15 minutes. Our story begins on a planet that would be completely alien to us today. 4 billion years ago, Earth was a volcanic hellscape, molten rock, poisonous gases, and violent storms. Yet somehow, in this chaos, something miraculous happened. Deep in the primordial oceans, around hydrothermal vents spewing superheated water, the first sparks of life ignited. Simple single-celled organisms, bacteria, began the long journey toward complexity. For over 3 billion years, these microscopic pioneers slowly evolved, eventually giving rise to the first multicellular life forms. Then, around 500 million years ago, life exploded in diversity. The oceans teemed with creatures unlike anything we see today. Eventually, some brave pioneers made the leap from water to land. The first amphibians, ancestors to all land-dwelling vertebrates, including us. But Earth wasn't done reshaping itself. 65 million years ago, a massive asteroid slammed into our planet, ending the age of dinosaurs in a spectacular extinction event. As the dust settled and the climate stabilized, small, furry mammals that had been hiding in the shadows suddenly found themselves inheritors of a transformed world. Among these early mammals were our distant ancestors, tiny, tree-dwelling creatures with grasping hands and forward-facing eyes. They were the first primates, and they held the key to our future. In the lush forests of Africa, these early primates began developing the traits that would eventually lead to us: enhanced intelligence, social cooperation, and remarkable adaptability. 20 million years ago, Africa was a very different place. Vast forests stretched across the continent, providing the perfect home for our primate ancestors. These early apes lived complex social lives high in the forest canopy, developing remarkable intelligence and the ability to use simple tools. But around 7 million years ago, everything changed. The climate began to shift, becoming drier and cooler. Slowly but steadily, the great forests began to shrink, replaced by expanding grasslands. This environmental pressure would drive one of the most important innovations in evolutionary history. Faced with fewer trees and more open ground, some of our ancestors made a revolutionary choice. They began to walk upright. This wasn't just about getting from point A to point B. Standing upright freed their hands for carrying tools, food, and their young. It allowed them to see predators and prey across the savanna. Most importantly, it set the stage for everything that would follow. These early hominids weren't just surviving, they were innovating. They discovered how to control fire, transforming their diet and extending their active hours. They developed more sophisticated tools and hunting strategies. They created the first shelters and began expressing themselves through primitive art. But perhaps most remarkably, they began to communicate in increasingly complex ways. Simple grunts and gestures evolved into more nuanced forms of expression, laying the groundwork for language. These weren't just biological changes, they were cultural ones, passed down from generation to generation through teaching and imitation. Meet Lucy. This remarkable female lived 3.2 million years ago in what is now Ethiopia, and her discovery revolutionized our understanding of human evolution. Lucy belonged to a species called Australopithecus afarensis, the southern ape from afar, and she represents a crucial chapter in our story. What made Lucy and her kind so special? They had mastered the art of walking upright while retaining the ability to climb trees when needed. Their brains were still relatively small, about the size of a modern chimpanzee's, but they were already showing signs of enhanced intelligence and social complexity. Australopithecus communities were sophisticated societies. They cared for their young for extended periods, allowing for more learning and cultural transmission. They developed increasingly complex social hierarchies and cooperation strategies. Most importantly, they began to systematically modify their environment to suit their needs. These early humans faced incredible challenges. Predators lurked everywhere: massive saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, and other formidable hunters. Climate change continued to reshape their world, forcing constant adaptation. Food was often scarce, requiring intelligence and cooperation to survive. But Australopithecus species didn't just survive, they thrived for over 3 million years. They spread across Africa, adapting to diverse environments, from woodlands to open savannas. They developed regional variations and cultural differences while maintaining their core identity as tool-using, social, upright walking apes. Their success set the stage for the next great leap in human evolution. As their brains gradually grew larger and their tools became more sophisticated, they were unknowingly preparing for the revolution that would change everything: the emergence of the first true humans.
Around 2.8 million years ago, a new type of human appeared on the African landscape. Homo habilis, literally handyman, represented a quantum leap in human evolution. With significantly larger brains and more dexterous hands, they sparked the first technological revolution in human history. The tools created by Homo habilis were unlike anything seen before. While earlier ancestors had used simple sticks and unmodified stones, Homo habilis deliberately shaped stone tools for specific purposes. They created sharp choppers, scrapers, and cutting implements using sophisticated techniques that required planning, skill, and patience. This wasn't just about making better tools. It was about fundamentally changing how humans interacted with their world. With these stone implements, Homo habilis could process meat more efficiently, access new food sources, and defend themselves more effectively. They could build better shelters, create more sophisticated hunting weapons, and even begin processing plant materials in new ways. But the real revolution was cultural. For the first time in human history, knowledge about tool making was being systematically passed down from generation to generation. Adults taught children not just what to do, but how to think about problem solving. This cultural transmission meant that innovations could accumulate over time, leading to increasingly sophisticated technologies. Homo habilis communities were highly social and cooperative. They shared food systematically, cared for the sick and injured, and worked together on complex tasks like hunting large animals. Their success allowed them to spread across Africa and support larger population sizes than ever before. As their brains continued to grow and their cultures became more complex, Homo habilis was setting the stage for the next great chapter in human evolution: the emergence of Homo erectus and humanity's first steps out of Africa. 1.9 million years ago marked the arrival of our next ancestors, Homo erectus. With brains nearly twice the size of their predecessors and bodies remarkably similar to modern humans, they were about to achieve something no human species had done before: leave Africa. Homo erectus mastered fire like no species before them. They didn't just use fire opportunistically, they controlled it, maintained it, and used it to transform their lives. Cooking food made nutrients more accessible and reduced the energy needed for digestion, feeding their growing brains. Fire also extended their active hours, provided warmth in colder climates, and gave them a powerful tool for hunting and territorial defense. Their technological innovations were equally impressive. The hand axes created by Homo erectus were marvels of engineering, symmetrical, purposeful, and remarkably consistent across different populations. These weren't just tools. They were the first manufactured products in human history, made according to mental templates passed down through generations. But perhaps their greatest achievement was becoming the first global human species. Around 1.8 million years ago, groups of Homo erectus began leaving Africa, spreading across Asia and establishing populations from the Republic of Georgia to Indonesia. This wasn't random wandering. It was systematic exploration and colonization. In Java, they became Java Man. In China, Peking Man. Each population adapted to local conditions while maintaining their core human identity. They learned to make clothing, build sophisticated shelters, and hunt the largest animals of their time, including elephants and rhinoceros. Homo erectus communities developed rich cultural traditions. They created the first evidence of symbolic behavior, engaged in long-distance trade, and developed regional variations in tool-making styles. They were becoming recognizably human in ways that went far beyond biology. For over 1 million years, Homo erectus dominated the human world, successfully adapting to climates from tropical rainforests to temperate grasslands. Their success prepared the way for the final chapters of our evolutionary story. As the world entered a series of ice ages, two remarkable human species emerged to face the ultimate test of survival. In Europe and Western Asia, Neanderthals evolved into masters of Ice Age living. Meanwhile, in Africa, our own species, Homo sapiens, was developing the traits that would eventually make us the sole surviving human species on Earth. Neanderthals were incredible survivors. With robust, powerful bodies adapted to cold climates, they thrived in environments that would challenge even modern humans. They hunted massive mammals like mammoths and woolly rhinos, created sophisticated tools, and developed rich cultural traditions, including burial of their dead and possibly even music. But around 300,000 years ago in Africa, anatomically modern humans appeared. We were different from our predecessors, more gracile in build, but with the largest, most complex brains in human history. Around 70,000 years ago, something extraordinary happened to our species, what scientists call the cognitive revolution. Suddenly, humans began creating art on an unprecedented scale. Cave paintings of breathtaking beauty and complexity, intricate jewelry, musical instruments, and elaborate burial practices. We developed sophisticated languages capable of expressing abstract concepts, future planning, and complex social organization. Our technological innovations exploded in diversity and sophistication. We created composite tools, specialized weapons for different prey, and the first evidence of systematic long-distance trade networks. Most importantly, we developed the ability to live in larger, more complex social groups than any previous human species. Around 60,000 years ago, modern humans began their own great migration out of Africa. Unlike previous human expansions, this one was different. We didn't just adapt to existing environments, we actively transformed them. We crossed open ocean to reach Australia, survived in the Arctic, and eventually populated every continent on Earth. When modern humans encountered Neanderthals in Europe and Asia, something remarkable happened. We interbred. Today, most people of non-African descent carry 2 to 4% Neanderthal DNA, a lasting genetic legacy of this ancient encounter. By 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had become the dominant human species, and by 28,000 years ago, we were the only humans left on Earth. For most of human history, our ancestors lived as hunter-gatherers, following herds, gathering wild plants, and moving seasonally across vast territories. But around 12,000 years ago, as the last ice age ended and the climate stabilized, humans made a discovery that would change everything: agriculture. It began simply enough. In the Fertile Crescent of the Middle East, people noticed that wild grasses produced larger, more nutritious seeds when tended carefully. Generation by generation, they selected the best plants, gradually transforming wild grasses into wheat, barley, and other crops. Simultaneously, humans began forming partnerships with animals. Wolves became dogs, wild aurochs became cattle, and sheep and goats joined human communities. These weren't just food sources, they were partners in a new way of life. The agricultural revolution triggered an explosion of human population and culture. For the first time, people could produce more food than they could consume, creating the surplus necessary for specialization. Some people became full-time tool makers, others artists, still others leaders and organizers. Permanent settlements grew into villages, then towns, then the first cities. With surplus food to support non-farmers, humans developed pottery, metallurgy, weaving, and countless other technologies. Writing systems emerged to keep track of agricultural surpluses and trade relationships. Most importantly, agriculture enabled humans to support vastly larger populations. From perhaps 10 million hunter-gatherers worldwide, human population exploded to over 50 million by 5,000 years ago. This wasn't just demographic growth, it was the foundation of civilization itself. The agricultural revolution set the stage for everything that followed: cities, governments, writing, art, science, and technology. In just a few thousand years, humans had transformed from small bands of hunter-gatherers into complex civilizations spanning continents. And here we are today. 8 billion humans spread across every continent, carrying within our genes the entire story we've just traveled together. Every person on Earth, regardless of appearance or culture, shares this incredible evolutionary journey. We are all Africans. We are all survivors. We are all part of the same magnificent story. The human brain that allowed our ancestors to make the first stone tools is the same brain that sent us to the moon, decoded our own DNA, and is now reaching toward the stars. The social cooperation that helped early humans survive on the African savanna is what builds our cities, creates our art, and solves our greatest challenges. But our evolution isn't over. Today, we're evolving culturally at an unprecedented pace. Our technologies are becoming extensions of ourselves. We're beginning to understand and even direct our own genetic destiny. We're taking the first steps toward becoming a multi-planetary species. Modern science has revealed that we share over 99% of our DNA with every other human on Earth. The differences that sometimes divide us, skin color, facial features, body types, represent less than 0.01% of our genetic heritage. We are far more alike than we are different, bound together by millions of years of shared evolutionary history. As you go forward from this moment, remember that you carry within yourself the dreams of every ancestor who survived long enough to pass on their genes. You are the current chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told, a story of curiosity, creativity, cooperation, and endless possibility. The journey that began with a single cell in the primeval oceans has led to you watching this video, contemplating your place in the cosmos. You are not just a product of evolution, you are evolution's greatest achievement so far. And the story continues with every choice you make, every problem you solve, and every dream you dare to pursue. Welcome to your evolutionary inheritance. Make it count.